Hopefully you guys watched my last video where I picked up this beautiful original IBM Model 5150, the original PC. Now I could keep the machine stock, and I thought about doing that because the computer is historically significant. But keeping that in mind, I decided I wanted to go ahead and upgrade it anyway. Let's go in the other room where it's set up and let's pimp it out. My plan with this build is to upgrade this PC, but with the overall goal that everything will be completely reversible. This particular 5150 does not have a hard disk. The original owners did add a hard card, which adds a 20 megabyte hard disk to an expansion card, but the drive didn't work anymore. And that's the reoccurring problem with these older hard disks. They're not easy to find in working order, and when they do work, they can be very expensive. The IBM 5150, being an 8-bit computer, requires an 8-bit controller and drive. These drives are slow, noisy, and, as I mentioned before, very expensive. While I could target historical accuracy and get an original drive, I'm actually going to go for convenience and reliability in this case. Like I said, this is all reversible. This is the XT IDE, one of many in a device created for these 8-bit IBM compatibles. This device is a modern replacement to the aging hard disk that allows you to use either a standard IDE hard disk or compact flash, depending on the model. I've opted to use a compact flash adapter for several reasons, including reliability and access speed. You're basically going to be limited by the speed of the bus. Setup is extremely simple. The card is installed into slot 5 in the 5150, or basically whatever slot is closest to the CPU. The XT IDE contains a ROM that intercepts the normal boot process that allows you to select which devices you'd like to boot from. If the MBR on your new drive is formatted correctly and an OS installed, it will boot right into your operating system. It's certainly faster, but we're still running on an original PC here. Benchmarks confirm that there is absolutely no seek time, as expected. And the transfer speed is respectable. The best part about this upgrade is how easy it is to copy large amounts of data to this machine. Just unplug your compact flash card from the XT IDE and plug it into your modern PC using a compact flash adapter. Drag and drop your files and you're done. While you do still have to open up the case to access the card with this particular model, there are versions where you can access it from the back without having to open the machine. I struggle with the idea of installing a sound card in this machine because the overall system performance is, well, anemic to say the least. I recently picked up this Sound Blaster 2.0 from a large lot of computer parts, and it's actually an 8-bit sound card. Ah, what the heck, let's install it. There's gotta be some games that either use the ad-lib compatibility or the OPL2 FM synthesizer. With a quick check of the jumpers and the IRQ settings, installation is easy. No drivers are needed. To my surprise, several games take advantage of this card and run perfectly well on the original PC. There's also an ad-lib jukebox with some great FM synthesized tunes. I'm really pleased with how this card turned out. It sounds great. My 5150 has a generic non-IBM CGA graphics card and parallel port controller. The monitor is an IBM Model 5153 CGA monitor. IBM did produce an official EGA monitor with this exact design, but they are really hard to find and crazy expensive. I decided to upgrade the video card to EGA anyway. Since I'll be using this with a CGA monitor, I'll need to configure the card for CGA compatibility mode. This will ensure the card does not exceed the resolution of a CGA monitor. Once the card is configured, there's a jumper on the 5150's motherboard to set the video mode, in this case from CGA to Special or Other. Games that take advantage of EGA mode really shine with this increased color palette. Some even appear to run more smoothly with this new card. Take a look at the difference in California games. The EGA card, as you can see, not only have more colors, but it just runs a lot faster. I have noticed some incompatibility issues with a small few CGA games, but it's hardly an issue. Overall, this is a cheap upgrade that's well worth it. The Intel 8088 CPU is the brain of the IBM 5150. Clocked at 4.77 MHz, it set the baseline for all subsequent PCs and clones for years. There were a number of processor upgrade boards and even replacement motherboards that offered a considerable speed boost. A new motherboard is absolutely out of the question since we want to maintain the original integrity of the machine. Upgrade cards are rare and expensive, and the original 63.5 watt power supply might be a little too anemic for this task. The NEC V20 and V30 processors were pin-compatible upgrades to the Intel 8088 and 8086 processors respectively. The V20 could execute certain instructions more efficiently, giving it a reported 10% speed increase clock for clock. Before we start, let's benchmark the 8088 so we can measure any performance increases. Running Checkit's CPU benchmark on the 8088 produces a score of 344 dry stones. Topbench gives the CPU score of 3. Pretty slow. Okay, so it's time to install the V20 CPU. As mentioned, this is a drop-in replacement to the 8088. No jumpers or adapters are necessary, just plug it into the existing socket. Alright, so with the CPU installed and working, let's run Checkit's CPU benchmark utility. Hey, 387 dry stones. That's about a 12% performance increase. Topbench also reports a small boost in performance with an overall score of 5. I can see why this CPU was a popular upgrade in the 1980s. It's definitely a cheap way to squeeze a little more performance out of your old IBM PC without sacrificing compatibility or risking damage. Well, here it is, the finished product, and I could not be happier with the results here. The machine still looks 100% original. All of the modifications that I've done to this can be reversed, and this machine can be restored back to its original state. It's so much more enjoyable now with a nice sound card, a little bit faster processor. So I've got this 2 GB hard drive loaded up with all kinds of games and demos, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with this thing over the next couple of weeks. And my ultimate goal is to get this to be able to run Crysis.